This episode is sponsored by Alex from Switchblade Cinema, who's currently working on our feature, Kill Your Lover. There's some links in the show notes for that one, guys. Please go check it out. Hello, and welcome back to Film Pro Productivity and Success, the podcast that helps film professionals and other creative people to live a more focused, effective, and happy life. My name is Carter Ferguson, and this is episode 101, Never Play to the Gallery.
Never play to the gallery, I think, but you never learn that until much later on, I think. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. And I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And if the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.
And that, of course, was David Bowie, the man himself, the late David Bowie, with a message that I've had pinned to my wall for at least 2 years now, because I saw it on YouTube, and I typed it out, wrote it on my board, and thought I'll have to do a show about that at one point, or at least talk about it on the show. And these shorter episodes, I feel, are ideal for tackling a small subject such as this one. And there's a key in that message that he was saying that will unlock success for some of you that are listening. And since this is episode 1 of season 8, and season 8 marks this slight change in format to the smaller, more edible shows, I felt it's a good topic to bring to you, basically. But what is it all about? What gallery? Where? What the hell is he on about? I realise more and more these days that this show is listened to by an international audience, and I do, believe it or not, try to control my accent and slow down the speed at which I speak as well as a result of that. And this idiom, I also understand, might not be something that you recognise in your culture, in your world. And an idiom, by the way, and I had to look this one up myself, I'm not trying not to talk down to you. An idiom is a phrase or expression that typically presents a figurative, non-literal meaning attached to the phrase, although some phrases become figurative idioms while retaining that literal meaning of the phrase. Anyway, this particular idiom, to play to the gallery, derives from the mid-17th century, where the highest seating in a theatre was called the gallery. And it was there that the cheapest seats could be bought, and what they would probably refer to as the least refined members of the audience were to be found. And playing to the gallery simply means to act in an exaggerated or a histrionic manner, especially in order to appeal to popular taste, to do things that you think will be popular among people instead of doing what you think is right. And Bowie speaks here really about artistic integrity and taking risks, and that's why I believe that it's relevant to creativity, productivity, and ultimately to success. Because more and more these days I have come to realise that playing the same old tune, not taking risks, and staying in our comfort zones in general is not a fast track to any form of success. A few episodes ago, in fact, the one about Abo Demi, something like episode 96, Demi said the same thing. He said, comfort zone is a very beautiful place, but no one is growing there. I found another quote while I was doing this episode, and it was from somebody called Apollo Ono, who said, be you. Don't be someone else. You are a unique individual. Be proud. Rock it loud, unquote. When David Bowie said earlier it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations, they produce their worst work when they do that, he is issuing a warning to each and every one of us. I don't want you to miss this, as it's an easy one to dismiss. If you don't buy into what he's saying, you can go, oh, he's playing to the gallery himself. You could say that he was very, very popular, but he was popular perhaps because when he started producing that sort of music, this wasn't what people were hearing. This was new. This was interesting. This was fascinating. People gripped a hold of this and loved what he was doing. If you're looking for success on, say, YouTube or social media, and you do exactly the same as everyone else, you're never going to be standout. You're never really going to shine. You can certainly practice and get better at certain things and techniques, etc. But if you aren't taking risks, doing new things, you'll only ever be someone who is competent. And competence is good, but for real high-level success, you don't want to just be competent or just be quite good. You really need to be standout brilliant, especially these days. I mean, with podcasts, for example, it's just a white noise of millions and millions of podcasts, me firing this out there, hoping it'll stick. There are ways I can manipulate that a little bit, but I try to be fairly unique in the content that I put out in order that people want to share what I'm talking about. I can't say that I'm always successful at it, but I'm always trying to push what I'm doing to be a little bit different. That's kind of, again, why these episodes are going to shorter formats. I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone and produce stuff which might hit an audience who've only got 10 minutes while they're walking the dog to listen to a show. That's one of the things I'm playing with here. But anyway, I can go off on a trip there. He goes on to say that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, then you're not working in the right area. And to always go a little further into the water than you feel capable of being in, go a little bit out of your depth, he says. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting. Exciting is what he's talking about. You know, it's not just another thing he's trying to produce. He catches himself when he thinks, oh, I'm doing something that I've done before, but he's always looking for that next, or he was always looking for that next exciting thing, especially in the period where he was producing his best work. And of course, generally, he's just talking about getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, another subject that I've handled in a full show, and about getting just far enough out of that comfort zone to begin to stand out, is I think my point. And I see this in filmmakers all the time, and it's why I kind of hate short film schemes as well. Not that I ever bother applying for them anymore. I don't get them. I never get them. But it's always in my mind when I'm writing something, and this is something I'm getting back into myself right now. I am producing content again. I'm at the moment I'm doing documentary content. I'm trying to make what I'm doing unique. I'm trying to make it different from everything else. For example, I did some behind the scenes for Ryan Hendrick's film Mercy Falls, and I shot everything on manual vintage lenses so that what I was producing for him would not just look like every other behind the scenes that would get done. I mean, it might not be any good. I might still arse it up, but I'm attempting to do something which other people aren't doing, or very few other people are doing. But anyway, I was going to mention short film schemes there. I've got a bullet point about it. I've been to one of these short film schemes, and at that scheme we were encouraged, in my opinion, not just to play to the gallery, but they even showed us films that had been successful with an inference that these are the sort of films we should be making. And for me, though, the exercise was one in perpetuating just boredom, because the films that we were getting shown were in many ways, yes, exceptional, but they'd all been done. They were all old things that had been done, and some of them had been done to death, in fact, by the point that we were watching them. They were no longer edgy, and although perhaps they once were, they certainly weren't anymore. There will be no one like us when we're gone, but then there is no one like anyone else ever. When people die, they can't be replaced. They leave holes that can't be filled, for it is the fate, the genetic and neural fate of every human being to be a unique individual, to find his own path, to live his own life, to die his own death. Oliver Sacks, unquote. In whatever you're doing creatively, whether it's making films or writing in them or acting in them or whatever, or if you're an artist of any type, I want you to do yourself a favour and don't wear yourself out trying to please everybody. In fact, don't wear yourself out trying to please even a specific group of people. Your time on earth here is too short to do that. And it seems that politicians these days are far more interested in playing to the gallery than in exercising real influence on world events. But the ones that stand out to me are the ones that are fixing the stuff that matters. They're talking about the stuff that other people aren't. I certainly feel on social media, I've talked about it a few times, and through the media in general, that we are guided to worry about one thing, and at the same time, that means that we are ignoring a whole load of other stuff, and it's the politicians that deal with that other stuff and talk about stuff that maybe isn't popular and start fixing that. They're the ones that stand out to me. And the artists and the music makers that stand out to me are the ones that are producing something familiar but unique to them, that stand out because they're doing something different. And the filmmakers, certainly, that I see getting lifted up out of the low-budget hell that we scrabble about in. I know this is listened to by people of all levels, production people of all levels, but I'm still a filmmaker scrabbling about on the low end, as well as working in the bigger end jobs as a fight coordinator. But the filmmakers that I see getting lifted up out of that low-budget hell are only the ones that produce something that is standout, brilliant, and unique. They're the ones that are getting the lift up. And your call to action today is to listen to the advice of David Bowie and take it on board. Don't just passively move on and keep doing what you've always been doing. That way leads to mediocrity, and it never leads to success. Remember what you were once passionate about and actively try to bring your own uniqueness to the work that you do by stepping just far enough out of your comfort zone that you are beginning to grow. Bowie's advice here really matters, and if you want to hear it again instantly, I'll play it at the end of the credits. So I'm just jumping in here with a bit of additional information because I pre-recorded this show a few weeks ago, and since then I have run a successful Indiegogo campaign to raise money to extend the website and to get the show onto YouTube, amongst a few other things, and that has been, as I say, successful. We met the 385 target about 3 or 4 days into the 10-day campaign, and that ensured that the website would go for another 2 years. And we hit the 650, which was a stretch goal, which would ensure that by the end of the year, by the end of this year, we've got all 100 current episodes up on YouTube. And I'm hoping to have more than that by then, but it's quite a big undertaking. So anyway, that's all fantastic. We also actually raise a little bit more money than that, so I've been able to extend the website for 3 years, not 2 years, so hopefully won't have to run another campaign for a while. And talking of fundraisers, Alex, who sponsored today's show, is from Switchblade Cinema, and they are currently working on a feature film called Kill Your Lover. They're running a greenlit.com project just now for Kill Your Lover. It's a crowdfunding campaign, and these guys are fantastic filmmakers. They really, really are excellent. So please go and support that one if you can. There are links in the show notes. And really, I don't know if I mentioned it a second ago, I should say thank you very much to everyone who has supported this show. It is going to make such a difference just knowing that the website, I don't have to worry about that for a while. I mean, I have to worry about getting stuff up onto it, which is a time-consuming nightmare, but I don't have to worry that the whole thing's going to go down. It just means that anybody who wants to can always find filmproproductivity.com and access the shows without any bother. So it's a great support to the show, and pushing it onto YouTube is really just about reaching a wider audience. Next week's show is called Take the Easy Money. It's not the one I'd intended on making, but it's an interesting one. It's really about low-hanging fruit. And again, I'm working now in this shorter episode format, although this is going a little bit longer than I wanted it to because I've added this here, but the shorter format is here to stay. And I think that's all for now. Let's see if I can jump back seamlessly to the original recording. But I'll end today with a quote by Herbert Bayard Swope, who said, "I cannot give you the formula for success, but I can give you the formula for failure, which is try to please everybody." Now take control of your own destiny, keep on shooting, and join me next time on Film Pro Productivity and Success. The exec producer on this season is David Richard Thompson. Thanks for joining us, David. Much appreciated. And the music that you're listening to right now, folks, is Adventures by Ehumitsu. You can follow the show on Twitter at FilmProPodPod or on Facebook at FilmProProductivity. And there is a full transcript of this episode and every episode on the official website, FilmProProductivity.com. Please continue to support the show by subscribing, spreading the word, and leaving an awesome review.
Never play to the gallery, I think. But you never learn that until much later on, I think. But never work for other people at what you do. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. And I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. I think they generally produce their worst work when they do that. And the other thing I would say is that if you feel safe in the area that you're working in, you're not working in the right area. Always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being in. Go a little bit out of your depth. And when you don't feel that your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.